In this video today, we're going to talk about how the table and the rule are connected. But before that, we're going to do a little review. How are the table and rule connected? So some review. What is the main topic of algebra? Relationships. These are these magic sentences. What is a relationship made of? Pairs of numbers. What are the three ways to show a relationship? A table, a rule, and a graph. What is the table's job? It gives examples of pairs of numbers. What is the rule's job? It builds pairs of numbers. So we can use that, plug that, the hours, which are represented by X, in and perform the math. So X into X, 4 times 25 is 100. What is the graph's job? Shows a picture of pairs of numbers. Plot those points on a coordinate plane. We can connect the dots to find other points that would be pairs of numbers in that relationship. So how are the table and the rule connected? All right, let's suppose you start off with 40 bricks in a wall. And this is really different than what we did in 7th grade, because in any relationship that we did in 7th grade, we started off with 0. If there was 0 weeks, hours, whatever, there was 0 bricks or money or whatever. 0 and 0. That 0, 0 was a point. As we start moving forward, when X is 0, Y isn't necessarily going to be 0. We're actually going to start with some things. For example, suppose you start with 40 bricks in a wall. Every hour, you add 15 more bricks. How many bricks are you going to have? Well, the obvious answer is, well, it depends. How many hours do you work, right? So we can represent that in a table. So X is going to represent hours. Y is going to represent bricks. Now, the most obvious one is, how many are we starting with? We're starting with 40. That means when hours, or X, is 0, Y is 40. So we have a starting amount. When X is 0, Y is 40. 40 is the starting amount. That's what we're starting with. Now, every hour you add 15 more bricks. So let's look at 1. So if every hour you're adding 15, so what is Y going to be? How many bricks do we have? Well, we had 40. We just added 15. 55. Oh, well, what about 2? Okay. Well, 2. Well, we started with 40. We added, after the first hour, we had added 15. So after the second hour, we're going to add another 15. So that's going to be 70. Okay. Oh, what about 5? Now, this is when it gets tricky because we just skipped some. So we got a couple things. We could stretch out that table and just keep counting by 15. But there's got to be a faster way, because what if that wasn't 5? What if that was 500? So there's got to be a faster way. Okay, so we started with 40. We added 15 each hour for 5 hours. Okay, that makes sense. So 15 times 5 is 75. So we started with 40, and if we worked for 5 hours, we added 75. So after 5 hours, the number of bricks is going to be 75 plus the 40 we started off with, which is going to be 115. So we don't always have to go step by step, 0, 1, 2, and keep counting up. We could, but that gets kind of tedious. So we go back to the problem, and we look at some important information there. Started with 40. Every hour we add 15 more. So we just multiply the hours times the amount. Okay, so what if it was X? What if the hours was X? Now what? Well, when we go back and look, we took X and we multiplied it by 15 because it's the number of hours, right? So it's 15 every hour. So 15 times 5 in this case. Well, when X becomes, when hours becomes X, we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be 15. How does this relate to the rule? Well, here's our bricks. X is our hours. So we don't have a number for that. So we're just going to leave it as X. And we take those hours, every hour we do 15 more. So we take those hours and we multiply by 15. Now, every single time, though, we started with 40, so we need to make sure we add that 40, which is the starting amount. And we have just built our rule. Every hour, I'm adding 15, so 15 times X plus 40, the starting amount. Okay, so we can make a rule out of this. Now we can use the rule to find other points. How do we do that? Well, look at 9. We could either keep building the table out, or we could use that rule. So y equals 15x plus 40, but now we know that x is 9. So this is the evaluating that we practiced. We plug 9 in for x. So after 9 hours, do a little multiplying here, we have added 135 bricks. What have we added it to? What did we start with? 40. So 135 plus 40 equals 175. So after 9 hours, we have a total of 175. Okay, let's look at some examples of this now. So you're going to have a bunch of problems like this, and you're going to have some really strange sounding names for our farmers and what our farmers have on their farms. But these are kind of these somewhat real life examples of how you might see these types of problems. So just really imaginary names. So Farmer Umpt started with 90 fronts on his farm. Every hour he got 9 more of them. Write an equation for total fronts, y, after x hours. All right, so first of all, establishing that fronts are y, x are hours. Starting with 90, every hour getting 9 more. So one of the things we need to establish is we talked in the original PowerPoint that there were more relationships. The more hours, the more whatever. In this case, the more hours, the more friends. And then there's more less. So every hour it decreases, there's less friends. And so that's one of the things we're going to have to establish with these problems is what kind of relationship. In this case, it's a more, got 90 more. 9 more. Okay, so we have to write an equation. The equation is the rule. Okay, so the rule is that we have y equals, okay, and we're going to start with the table. Okay, so when we have 0, we started with 90. So when we had 0 hours, we have 90 friends. Okay, every hour he got 9 more. So we could plug this into the rule like that. Oh, we don't have a rule, but technically we do because we know every hour he got 9 more. So we know the hours is multiplied by 9. And then we started with 90, so then we add 90. So 90 times 1 is 9, plus 90 is 99. And you can see here from 0 to 1, as we went up by 1, we went up by 9 here. Every hour got 9 more. Okay, so then 2 hours. So after 2 hours, how many would that be? Well, every hour you get 9 more. So 9 times 2, 18. So after 2 hours, we'll have added a total of 18 to the 90 that we started off with. 18 plus 90, 108. And we could count that up. We could look at the table and go 90 plus 99. 90 plus 9 is 99, plus 9 is 108. Or we could use that concept that every hour you get 9 more. So if there's 2 hours, 2 times 9 is 18, add it to what we started with. And that's really helpful when we have something like 8, because we just jumped a whole bunch. We went from 2 to 8. We could expand out the table and then multiple and then just add each one, but let's use that rule. Every hour you added 9 more. Well, we went 8 hours. So after 8 hours, how much have we added? 9 times 8, 72. So we've added 72 to what? Well, what did we start with? 90. And a lot of you will make the mistake of taking that 72 and adding it to 108. But we're always adding it to that starting amount. After 8 hours, we got 9 more every hour. After 8 hours, we've added 72 to the original amount. 72 plus 90 is 162. So we're using that rule without really using the rule. Okay, that's the rule right there. Okay, now, I mean, we're taking the hours, X, multiplying it by 9, adding that to 90, and that's what Y equals. So every rule is going to start off with Y equals. We're always going to have our rule with these types of problems starting off with Y equals. And then we've got our every hour or every day or every week kind of thing. And so every hour, we're adding 9 more, right? So take that, 9 times X. Okay, so it's 9 because it's every hour. And then we add to that what the starting amount was. What was the starting amount? We started with 90. So we added the 90. And that's the rule. So Y equals 9X plus 90. All right, so we look at another one. So Harmer High, these names are crazy, started with 210 Kents on her farm. Every hour she exploded 6 more of them. So we have more relationships and more less. Well, if we're exploding these Kents, this is a more less relationship. So every hour there's less. Started with 210. Every hour she exploded 6 more. Don't get caught up in the more. She exploded them. So she got rid of 6 of them. So let's look and see what that would look like. Well, we need a rule. So let's look at the table. We start off with Y equals. So we're going to go straight to the rule this time. So always Y equals. Start off with Y equals. All right. So let's look and see what's going on. So 0, we're going to have 210. Started with 210. So 0 is always going to be 210. Okay. All right. And then every hour exploded 6 more. So after 1 hour, exploded 6. 1 times 6 is 6. But instead of adding it to 210, we have to take it away because we got rid of it. So we kind of reverse that a little bit. 210 minus 6, 204. After 2 hours, every hour we explode 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. So we've exploded 12 now. Okay, so and then we subtract that from 210. So 210 minus 12, 198. Okay, so then 3 hours. And you could, in this case, because we keep going up by 1 here, we don't have a gap, you could probably go minus 6, minus 6, minus 6. That kind of gets you in trouble because sometimes that doesn't work. 210 minus 6 times 3. So it's 3 hours, exploding 6 every hour. 6 times 3 is 18. 210 minus 18, 192. Okay, so how do we make that into a rule? Well, X is the hours, and every hour it's 6 more, so 6 times X. Now we're going to write this one a little backwards because of the subtraction. So it's going to start with 210 and we start taking them away. So minus 6X. Now we could just recognize that if we're exploding them, it's not going to be a positive 6, it's a negative 6. So that number there in front of X would be negative. So negative 6X plus 210. That's just another way to put it. And so that's different from the other slide because it was going up. It was increasing. So this number was positive. This one we're exploding them, so it's decreasing. So this number was negative. Okay, so we're going to do some Get More Math. I will add these notes, I'll upload them, and this video, and maybe even some more examples. Look for those in the Google Classroom.